Welcome back to the deep dive. In a world that feels like it's speeding up every single day, with information just hitting us from all directions, staying truly informed is, well, it's tougher than ever. And imagine you're on a corporate board trying to navigate a massive company through these unpredictable waters. The challenge isn't just amplified, it's completely transformed. Risks emerge overnight, regulations pivot unexpectedly, entirely new threats appear out of nowhere. That's why today, we're taking a deep dive into some truly essential insights. 8 importance of ERM in the corporate boardroom. This isn't about dry theory, really. It's your crucial shortcut to understanding how corporate governance, especially in managing risk, has evolved from a passive oversight duty into, well, a dynamic strategic powerhouse. The material we're exploring today is created by EasyPathUni by coordinations with Ghazan Ibrahim, and joining me to unpack it is our expert. It's great to have you, especially with your background extensive experience as head of audit for a financial department, plus certifications like CISA, CFE, GRCP, GRCA, IPPA, FMVA, CBCA, and BEAD.
That really brings a deep understanding of audit, risk management, financial analysis. Perfect for today.
Thank you. It's a critical topic. Our mission today, really, is to show how enterprise risk management, or ERM, has made this profound journey. It really moved from being just an afterthought, a simple compliance checkbox exercise, to an absolute strategic imperative for today's boards. It's about actively creating value and resilience now. We'll look at the foundational shifts that demanded this change, the evolving roles in the boardroom, and importantly, the cutting-edge tools that empower modern governance to thrive amidst all this complexity.
Exactly. And for you, our listener, this deep dive is designed to cut through all the noise. We're here to give you those sharp, actionable insights, those aha moments you need to be not just informed, but strategically well-informed and, frankly, ahead of the curve. So let's explore what this all means for your understanding of modern corporate leadership. Okay, let's begin by pulling back the curtain on that pivotal moment that really reshaped corporate governance forever. Picture the era before Sarbanes-Oxley, or SOXIs. Boards were often, well, pretty passive, largely aligned with management.
Yeah, and while that might sound harmonious on the surface, it frequently created significant conflicts of interest, especially when it came down to overseeing the integrity of financial reporting. It's a stark reminder, really, of how quickly public trust can just vanish. The triggers for change were these spectacular corporate collapses: Enron, WorldCom. These were driven by widespread accounting fraud that cost investors billions. The public outcry essentially forced Congress to act. That led to the bipartisan Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. It wasn't just about catching bad actors, it was about rebuilding the entire foundation of trust.
The SOX truly was a game changer. And here's its first major importance for ERM we should touch on, shifting accountability. Its core objectives were pretty clear: protect investors, improve financial disclosures, and restore confidence. It brought in serious oversight, like the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, the PCAOB, to independently monitor accounting firms. Crucially, it mandated strict auditor independence. That ended the conflict of interest where firms could audit and consult for the same client, which is a huge issue.
Definitely. But the most profound shift for boards, and a second key importance for ERM, was personal liability. That was massive. SOX Section 302 now requires CEOs and CFOs to personally certify the accuracy of financial statements every single quarter. This didn't just impose legal risks, it forced a fundamental cultural reevaluation. It moved financial integrity from being, a back office task to the ultimate personal responsibility of the C-suite. It's really the difference between don't get caught and you absolutely own these numbers.
And the boards themselves transformed, right? Gone were the days of just passive observation. Post-SOX, boards became undeniably active and legally responsible. We saw a dramatic increase in director independence, often with the chairman and CEO roles separated, which was a big step.
Yeah.
And new mandates for things like CEO succession planning came in. This established a high accountability framework that's really the third importance here: active, independent board oversight.
Absolutely. Now, while it was transformative, it wasn't without its challenges. Implementing Section 404, which mandated internal controls, faced quite a bit of initial resistance, mainly due to perceived costs. And this highlighted an ongoing tension that still exists today. The cost of stringent oversight versus the immeasurable benefit of investor confidence. Ultimately, a SOX laid the bedrock for all modern board-level risk management. It fundamentally reshaped the social contract between corporations and the public.
Okay, so building on that foundation, let's look at modern board composition, because the very structure of the board is critical, isn't it? It enables more effective risk management.
Mm.
We start with the distinction between inside and outside directors. What's the key difference there?
Right. So inside directors are typically your executive team, the CEO, the CFO, maybe others. Their value is clear. They have deep operational knowledge. They know the business inside and out. However, that close alignment can create a potential conflict when they're meant to oversee or challenge management decisions. It's just inherent. Outside directors or non-executive directors, NEDs, are the essential counterpoint. They're not involved in the day-to-day operations. They're selected specifically for their impartial judgment and independent oversight, representing shareholder interests. Post-SOX, we've seen a significant increase in outside directors, and importantly, they bring diverse backgrounds: finance, law, technology, industry expertise. This allows for a much broader lens on modern risks.
And that diversity is crucial. That's maybe a fourth importance for diverse and impartial expertise on the board itself.
Exactly.
And these boards rely heavily on specialized committees. Let's focus on two critical ones: the Audit Committee, or AC, and the Compensation Committee, or CC.
Okay. The Audit Committee's primary mandate is financial reporting oversight and internal controls. Think SOX Section 404 again. They manage both internal and external auditors. The SEC mandates that at least one Audit Committee financial expert, someone with deep JAP and internal controls knowledge, sits on this committee. Their role is fundamentally about providing independent assurance to the board and shareholders.
Right. And the Compensation Committee. It focuses on executive compensation, making sure it aligns with long-term company performance and shareholder value. But its modern responsibility goes deeper, doesn't it? Evaluating how compensation might inadvertently encourage excessive or short-sighted risk-taking. That ties directly into the board's overall risk appetite. So that's perhaps a fifth importance: aligning incentives with risk appetite.
Precisely. And this evolution has led to a really crucial development: the demand for a risk management expert on the board, complementing that traditional financial expert requirement. A qualified risk director needs expertise beyond just traditional finance. They must understand risk terminology, risk assessment tools, and have the ability to assess multiple potential outcomes, not just financial ones. Their diverse backgrounds reflect the expanding spectrum of modern risks: cyber, climate, geopolitical. It's much broader now.
Okay, this brings us to a critical, almost unavoidable dilemma, it seems. When the Audit Committee, which is already stretched thin with financial oversight, internal controls, dealing with auditors, when it's also tasked with overseeing enterprise-wide risk, what inevitably happens to that broader risk agenda? It often gets insufficient attention, right?
That's exactly the challenge. This inherent limitation is a primary reason for the rise of dedicated risk committees. And this marks our sixth importance: dedicated strategic risk oversight. These committees are simply better positioned to provide the necessary focus on strategic, non-financial, and emerging risks. It's a critical shift towards proactive, forward-looking strategic risk oversight, ensuring you have specialized expertise for effective governance.
So a dedicated board-level risk committee, or BRC, isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It sounds like an absolute necessity given the sheer complexity and velocity of modern risks. This moves us beyond just delegating risk to an already very busy audit committee.
Right. The BRC acts as a structured forum for detailed, ongoing dialogue about the entire spectrum of a company's risk profile, not just financial risk. It's about moving beyond those retrospective financial audits to really proactive, strategic discussions about what lies ahead, what could go wrong, what opportunities are there.
And this isn't just an informal chat group. The BRC's formal authority is documented right in a board-approved charter.
Absolutely essential. That charter defines its mission, its scope, and its reporting obligations clearly. Within that charter, core BRC responsibilities usually include oversight of the company's risk management frameworks and risk appetite, monitoring adherence to risk limits, and critically, a focus on material and emerging non-financial risks, things like cybersecurity, climate change, geopolitical instability, reputational risk. It also establishes clear reporting mechanisms back to the full board, often facilitated by the Chief Risk Officer, or CRO.
And for a BRC to be truly effective, what are the best practices? I imagine it requires a significant commitment.
It really does. Best practices highlight the significant time commitment, sometimes 5 to 12 days a month for the chair alone, and the need for members with truly relevant expertise in the key risk areas the company faces. It also stresses robust collaboration with other board committees, especially the Audit Committee, to ensure a cohesive approach and avoid gaps or overlaps.
Okay, so let's clarify the distinction. Within the three lines model, which we'll touch on more, how do the BRC and Audit Committee differ fundamentally?
It's a critical distinction. The BRC typically functions as a second line of defense committee. It's deeply involved in a consultative and advisory capacity, helping management think through and make decisions about risk. The audit committee, on the other hand, operates as a third line of defense committee. Its role is providing independent assurance that the risk management and internal control systems are actually designed properly and working effectively.
Oh.
Blurring those lines really compromises the objectivity needed, especially for that independent assurance piece from the audit committee.
So establishing a BRC, then, is really a strategic governance tool. It empowers the board not just to mitigate downside risk, but also to identify and seize opportunities. It helps foster a more resilient and adaptable organization.
Exactly.
It's a significant move towards viewing risk as a core component of strategy and value creation. Sounds like a seventh key importance: enabling strategic value creation.
That's a great way to put it.
Let's now connect this to the integrated governance model. You mentioned the three lines model. It's often visualized that way. It seems like a very clear framework for defining responsibilities and fostering collaboration across an organization.
It is, yeah. It helps clarify who does what. Each line plays a distinct but connected role. The first line is your operational management and frontline employees. They effectively own and manage risks as an intrinsic part of their daily activities. Risk management starts there. The second line includes the dedicated risk management and compliance functions. They provide oversight, guidance, frameworks, and monitoring. This is where the BRC plays its crucial role in steering the overall enterprise risk management effort. And finally, the third line is typically internal audit. They provide that independent, objective evaluation of the entire risk management framework's effectiveness, checking both the first and second lines.
And central to this entire model, you mentioned the Chief Risk Officer, or CRO. We've seen the CRO's role evolve dramatically over the years, haven't we?
No, absolutely.
From someone focused almost exclusively on compliance, maybe insurance, to becoming a true strategic partner and value creator.
That's spot on. The modern CRO is expected to be a data-driven strategist, fluent in a broad spectrum of risks: cybersecurity, climate change, geopolitical instability, reputation, you name it. Their dual reporting structure, often reporting functionally to the BRC and administratively to the CEO, reflects their unique position. They're involved in both protecting the organization and enabling strategic growth by informing decisions with risk insights.
So it's not just about individual roles, it's about seamless collaboration and information flow between these board committees, audit and BRC, and the assurance functions like internal audit, preventing duplication, making sure everyone's on the same page, ensuring a cohesive approach. That's vital.
It is. And the legal department's role is also evolving significantly here. They're moving beyond purely advisory to being central in managing company risk overall. Their deep understanding of regulatory requirements, compliance issues, potential litigation makes them essential for navigating complex legal landscapes and ensuring risk strategies are actually sound and defensible.
So this integrated model, the three lines, the CRO, the committees working together, it actively combats that traditional silo-based risk management approach, right? Where different departments only worried about their risks.
Yeah, exactly.
It emphasizes that risk isn't an isolated issue in finance or legal, but an interconnected web that impacts everything a company does.
And breaking down those silos achieves that truly holistic 360-degree view of risk. It improves efficiency, reduces blind spots, and ultimately builds resilience. A key best practice here, something really practical, is establishing a shared risk taxonomy, a common language for risk and standardized metrics. This ensures a unified understanding and consistent communication across all functions. Everyone means the same thing when they talk about high risk.
Okay, now let's pivot to something critical.
Yeah.
How technology has become absolutely pivotal in all this, acting as a board-level enabler. We're witnessing a fundamental shift, aren't we? From manual, static, often qualitative risk management to a continuous data-driven and truly proactive approach.
Yes, technology is the game changer here. Central to this shift are modern governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC, platforms. Think of these integrated software suites as the central nervous system for risk oversight. They consolidate all risk data, compliance activities, audit findings, governance policies, everything into one unified system. This is really our eighth importance, leveraging technology for real-time risk intelligence.
And these GRC platforms, they come packed with key features, right? What do they actually do?
Well, they automate workflows like collecting evidence for controls, scoring risks based on predefined criteria. They centralize data, creating that vital single source of truth so everyone's working off the same information. And crucially, they enable continuous monitoring with real-time key risk indicators, or KRIs, and automated alerts. It's an always-on strategy for risk, not just a point-in-time assessment.
So you get flagged when something starts trending badly, not just finding out at the end of the quarter.
Precisely. And the true power, arguably, lies in predictive intelligence through AI and machine learning embedded in some of these platforms. These tools allow for predictive analytics that shift the focus from just what happened to what might happen next. You mentioned Monte Carlo simulations earlier. That's a great example. Instead of just guessing if a new product launch will succeed, you could simulate, say, 10,000 different market conditions based on historical data and expert inputs. You see how often it wins, under what conditions it fails. It gives you a far clearer risk picture than any single person's gut feeling or a simple high, medium, low assessment.
That moves beyond qualitative bias.
Yeah.
And for the executives and board members who need to digest all this, the tech culminates in dynamic risk dashboards.
Yes, and these are designed to be visually intuitive. They aren't just spreadsheets or dense reports. They translate complex, real-time data into genuinely actionable insights.
What kind of visuals are we talking about?
You often see things like risk heat maps, which plot risks visually based on likelihood versus impact. Very easy to see the big hitters. You also see key risk indicators displayed prominently, acting as those early warning systems. Green, yellow, red indicators for key metrics. And crucially, good dashboards offer drill-down functionality. You see a red indicator, you click on it, and you can instantly access the underlying data, the incident reports, the control failures, whatever is driving that risk, for deeper investigation right there.
But you can have the best tech in the world. This is more than just a technological upgrade, isn't it? It demands a profound cultural shift, too.
Oh, absolutely. Fostering a risk-aware culture throughout the organization is paramount.
What does that mean in practice?
It means employees at all levels are trained, encouraged, and feel safe to identify and report risks without fear of blame. It means risk is considered in everyday decision-making, not just by a dedicated department. Without that culture, the technology is far less effective because the inputs might be incomplete or inaccurate. And this increasing reliance on data also introduces a critical new risk: the integrity of the data itself. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So robust data governance, data quality controls, and cybersecurity around these systems are not just best practices. They are core necessities for ensuring the reliability of the insights driving those crucial board-level decisions.
Okay, stepping into the future, or perhaps the present reality, the board's mandate has expanded significantly. We're navigating a new frontier of complex, interconnected, and rapidly evolving threats. This isn't just about the usual business cycle risks anymore.
No, definitely not. Cybersecurity risk is consistently cited as a top threat by boards globally, and it's getting worse, frankly, amplified now by AI-driven sophistication. Think deepfakes used for fraud, AI-generated social engineering attacks that are incredibly convincing. The potential damage, both financial and reputational, from a major breach is devastating. The average cost hit about $4.45 million in 2023, according to IBM's report. That's not just a statistic, that's potentially crippling for some companies. Careers, reputations, customer trust, it can evaporate overnight.
So faced with that, what are the board's best practices for overseeing cyber risk? What should they be doing?
Regular, and I mean enhanced, engagement with the Chief Information Security Officer, the CISO, is critical. Not just an annual update. Boards need better reporting metrics they can actually understand and track. Some are considering dedicated committees just for technology and cyber oversight. And crucially, ongoing education for the directors themselves is vital to keep up with the evolving threat landscape. They need to understand the basics.
Okay, then there's climate change and ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues. These are posing significant risks too.
Yes. Both physical risks, like extreme weather events disrupting operations or supply chains, and transition risks. Think policy changes, carbon pricing, shifts in consumer preferences, or technology disruptions as we move to a lower carbon economy. Regulators and investors are piling on the pressure for transparency and action. We're seeing frameworks like the TCFD, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and now the ISSB, International Sustainability Standards Board, providing structured approaches for disclosure. And crucially, we're seeing the concept of double materiality really gaining traction.
Double materiality, what's that exactly?
It asks boards to consider two perspectives. First, the outside-in view. How will climate change or social issues affect our company's financial performance? That's traditional financial materiality. But double materiality adds the inside-out view. What is our company's impact on the environment and society? And how does that external impact eventually circle back to affect our reputation, our regulatory burden, our license to operate, and ultimately our long-term value? It's seeing the full feedback loop.
That's a much broader perspective. And let's not forget geopolitical and supply chain risk. Seems like instability is the new normal.
It certainly feels that way. The rise of geopolitical instability, trade conflicts, reshoring trends, global competition, especially heating up in areas like AI development, it demands a significant mental shift from boards. Complacency about a stable global operating environment is just no longer a viable option.
So how do companies build resilience?
Robust supply chain risk management is key. That means better visibility and communication deep into the supply chain, scenario planning, business continuity training and testing, and often the appointment of a CRO or equivalent with responsibility for these interconnected risks. It's about preparing for disruptions before they happen.
What's fascinating here, and maybe a bit daunting, is the sheer interconnectedness of all these threats. A geopolitical event can instantly trigger a cyber attack. A major climate event can completely disrupt a critical global supply chain. It's a complex, dynamic web.
Absolutely. And this means the board's role has truly evolved into becoming a kind of sense-making engine. They have to synthesize information from diverse, often conflicting sources to build that holistic 360-degree view of the risk landscape. Concepts like double materiality are powerful examples of this evolution, forcing that comprehensive, multifaceted approach to understanding risk and impact.
Okay, shifting our gaze now specifically to the modern regulatory landscape itself. That's also undergoing a significant transformation, isn't it? Driven by an intensified focus on accountability and a more proactive risk-based approach from regulators.
Yes, very much so. A prime example is the PCAOB's new quality control standard, QC 1000, which becomes effective December 15th, 2025. This is a fundamental change for public accounting firms. It moves them away from a more traditional checklist-style, rules-based approach to quality control towards an integrated risk-based one. The objective is for firms to proactively identify and manage specific risks that could threaten audit quality, ensuring they consistently issue accurate and reliable audit reports.
So what does QC 1000 actually mandate? What are the key provisions?
It mandates a specific risk-based approach. Firms have to establish clear quality objectives, assess the risks that could prevent them from meeting those objectives, and then design and implement appropriate responses or controls. It also emphasizes accountability and continuous improvement through things like annual evaluations of the QC system and personal certification by firm leadership. For the largest firms, it even requires setting up an external QC function for independent oversight of their quality control.
Interesting. And what about the long-standing Sarbanes-Oxley provisions we discussed earlier, Tax 302 and 404? Are they still central?
Absolutely. They remain incredibly relevant well over 2 decades after enactment. They really form a cornerstone of corporate accountability in the U.S.
Right. Just to remind listeners, SOX Section 302 continues to mandate that the CEO and CFO personally certify the accuracy of financial reports every quarter. And they also have to attest that they've reviewed the company's internal controls. That personal liability with significant potential personal and even criminal consequences is still very much in effect.
Exactly. And SOX Section 404 requires management to provide an annual report assessing the effectiveness of the company's internal controls over financial reporting, or ICFR. For larger companies, accelerated filers, this management assessment must also be independently audited and attested to by the external accounting firm. The focus there is strongly on preventing material misstatements in the financial statements.
So given this continually evolving, increasingly stringent landscape, new standards like QC 1000 layered on top of existing ones like SOX, this raises an important question. How do boards and companies keep pace? It seems overwhelming.
It can be. The reality is the modern regulatory landscape demands continuous, technology-driven compliance. Manual processes just can't keep up effectively or efficiently anymore. Automation and continuous monitoring, often through those GRC platforms we talked about, have become de facto requirements, really. GRC platforms are critical here. They provide real-time alerts on control failures, automate control testing where possible, centralize all the documentation needed for SOX certifications and audits, and help demonstrate compliance with PCAOB standards. Interestingly, the PCAOB's new risk-based standard, QC 1000, actually mirrors ERM's own evolution, moving towards more flexible, tailored, risk-focused oversight rather than a one-size-fits-all rules approach. It's a parallel evolution.
Okay, let's try to bring it all together then.
Sure.
The journey of board-level risk oversight we've discussed has been truly profound. We've moved from boards being somewhat passive gatekeepers to becoming active strategic partners and indeed value creators through intelligent risk management.
That's the core story, I think. The transformation points to this radical shift away from siloed reactive risk management, just dealing with problems as they arise, towards an integrated, enterprise-wide function that's deeply connected to the company's strategy. Perhaps the biggest takeaway, if there's one, is that risk is now viewed not as something to simply avoid at all costs, but as an inherent component of value creation that must be understood and intelligently managed. Taking risks is necessary for growth, but it has to be informed risk-taking.
And technology has been the critical driving force enabling this shift, hasn't it? GRC platforms, AI, dynamic dashboards, all making possible that continuous real-time oversight and providing that crucial 360-degree view of risk that was unimaginable before.
Absolutely. Technology provides the infrastructure and the insights. And equipped with that, modern boards are much better positioned to effectively tackle these complex emerging risks, cyber, climate, geopolitical, viewing them not in isolation, but as interconnected and systemic. Concepts like double materiality powerfully reflect this comprehensive, forward-looking approach.
So it's clear. The board's mandate today is no longer just about ensuring compliance, ticking boxes. It is fundamentally about intelligently managing risk to drive sustained long-term value creation for the company and its stakeholders.
Exactly. And maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. If we connect this evolution to the bigger picture, how might this evolving model of more intelligent, integrated, forward-looking risk management transform not just individual companies, but perhaps the very stability and trustworthiness of our global markets in the years to come?